Okay, so when a disaster hits, communication is literally everything. But who are the people making sure those critical messages actually get through? In this explainer, we're going to break down all the key roles on an emergency communications team so you can see exactly who does what when it really counts.
I mean, think about it for a second. When all the normal ways we talk, cell phones, internet, suddenly go down, who steps up? Who's there to coordinate the response, pass along life-saving information, and connect resources to people who desperately need them? Nope, it's not just one person. It's a whole, super organized team.
And that's exactly what we're going to dig into here. We're going to walk through every key position, from the folks in the command center all the way out to the people in the field. By the end, you'll not only get how it all works, but you might just spot the perfect role for yourself.
All right, first up, the strategists. These are the leaders, the big picture thinkers, who design the entire communication plan for an incident. They're the ones who build the network from the ground up.
So the first big role here is the communications leader, or COMLEL for short. You can think of them as the chief architect for the whole comms operation. They're responsible for all the official equipment and systems. And this is really important. This position is almost always filled by paid staff from a public safety agency.
Okay, but now, this is where things get super interesting, especially for volunteers. There's a newer role called the Auxiliary Communications Manager, or ACM. That word auxiliary is the key. The ACM is a strategist too, but their whole world is about managing all the supplemental systems. And here's the best part. This role is designed specifically for trained volunteers. It's a total game changer for people with skills like amateur radio to step into a real leadership position.
So when you put them side by side, the whole structure just clicks. You've got the paid COMLE, who supervises other paid technicians. And then you've got the volunteer ACM, who leads other volunteer communicators. See how that works? It's a parallel structure that lets professional staff and trained volunteers blend together into one seamless team.
So what exactly are these auxiliary systems we keep talking about? Well, the ACM is the go-to person for managing things like amateur and GMRS radio for voice communications, digital radio systems like WinLink for sending emails and data over the air, and even organized SMS text messaging campaigns. It's all about having multiple, resilient backup plans to get the message through.
All right, so we've met the big picture planners. Now let's talk about the people who are actually on the air, handling the messages from moment to moment. These are your operators.
So on the paid staff side, you've got the radio operator, or RADO. Think of this person as your professional dispatcher. They're handling the main radio traffic for the incident, logging everything, and making sure every message gets to the right person fast. They are the absolute backbone of the official communication flow.
And you guessed it, just like we saw with the managers, there's a specific volunteer role to match, the Auxiliary Communications Communicator, or AUXC. This is the person who's hands-on with those auxiliary systems we just talked about. They are the trained volunteers on the front lines, passing critical messages using ham radio, digital modes, you name it.
Let's put them next to each other, because this distinction is super important. Your RADO, that's the paid pro, handling the main dispatch channels. The AUXCO, that's the trained volunteer, totally focused on those crucial backup communication paths. Having this clear separation means everybody knows exactly what their job is. No confusion, no stepping on toes.
You know, communication isn't just about what's happening back at the command post, right? You've got to have good information coming in from the incident itself. So let's talk about the eyes and ears out on the ground, the field reporters.
Field reporters usually break down into two main groups. On one hand, you've got your affiliated reporters. These are folks from organized groups like CART or AIRS, and they report information back through their own team system. Then you've got the unaffiliated reporters. You can think of them as Good Samaritans. These are skilled people who might not be on a team, but they can report what they see directly to the Emergency Operations Center. And listen, both are absolutely vital sources of intel.
Of course, none of this works without a whole team of support staff behind the scenes. These are the folks who keep the engines running, the gear working, and all the information organized.
So let's do a quick rundown of this essential crew. You've got the COMT, the communications technician. That's a paid role focused on keeping all the equipment running. Then you have a few really key roles that can be filled by either paid staff or volunteers. Scribes, who document every critical piece of information, support staff, who handle logistics like fuel and food, and the situation unit, which takes all that incoming intel and builds the big picture for the commanders.
Okay, so we've seen all the different players on the field, from the strategists to the support crew. But you might be asking, why does all this matter? Why go to the trouble of creating all these specific roles, especially these new ones for volunteers?
Well, this quote right here really nails it. These new AUXC and ACM roles were specifically created to formally recognize and integrate volunteers into the official incident command system. See, it's not just about giving someone a fancy title. It's about standardizing skills so that a trained volunteer can show up to any response, anywhere, and just plug right in and be effective from minute one.
And really, that's the big takeaway here. When everyone has a crystal clear role, when paid staff know their job and trained volunteers know theirs, you just get rid of all the confusion. You create a system where everyone can work together using their unique skills to build a communications network that's more resilient, more capable, and at the end of the day, way more effective at saving lives. And that's what it's all about.
All right, so we've walked through the whole team. The planners, the operators on the radio, the reporters in the field, and the essential support crew. We've seen how professionals and volunteers can work side by side to build something incredibly powerful. So the only question left is the one we asked at the very beginning. Where do you see yourself fitting in?